It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate, oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week, we're getting conflicting reports on the future of the DC movie slate.
Yeah, you can say that again.
We're getting conflicting reports on the future of the DC movie slate. You didn't think I'd do it, did you? You didn't think I'd do it, but I did. I'm always good. I'm always here for a good pun. You know that, Mike. Star Wars gives us some release dates. Different things we'll talk about. Parents, you're going to want to catch up on these release dates. At least one of them, according to the trailer we're going to talk about, right? The Game Awards disappointed superhero fans all around, Mike, and we'll talk about what that means at the top and later in the show as well, if you watched it, and more.
Yeah, it's hard for me to be disappointed because I didn't watch it, but it's always fun to see the hot takes in the trailers that come out afterwards. I think like you sent a text to like the group chat reminding everybody, oh, the video games awards are on tonight, and I'm just like, huh? They still do that thing?
Oh yeah.
I always like, I don't know if I'm just like internalizing this wrong, but like I swear at one point in time there was like dueling video game award shows. I don't know when it happened, but it felt like they were like trying to vie for what video game award show was going to be like the one. So I guess this is it.
Well,
the video game awards.
Well, Jeff Keighley and the Game Awards have been around. He's been doing it for I think for 10 years or more now at this point. Now E3 might have tried to do like their own thing or something like that. So
So is this where like a Game of the Year edition games come from? Like if you win at this show, you can release a Game of the Year.
So that's a very gray area because if you win like most players at a game award, like it may be in England or Europe, you can do that. Like, but yes.
So you just need to win. You just need to win any.
Yeah, it's
any
award at all.
Yeah,
it's it's like the Academy Awards, right? If you win an Academy Award for something, you're gonna put it all over your game, whatever. But this is the one that I think most people, where publishers will come to this, huge names in the industry will come to this. They'll do world premieres at this, right? So like when you're watching like this, it's kind of like to me the Super Bowl of this. I'm here for the trailers. The awards, they know it. They just kind of rush through a lot of them. They just announce the 5 nominees and then say this is who won, and then they'll do like that 3 times in a row. It's very quick, and I'm just there to watch the trailers, and they all know everyone's here to watch the trailers.
It is kind of nice. Like we talk about that occasionally when they do movie or TV award shows, right? Like, how come the Oscars you don't have all of these trailers, debuting during the commercials? It's like not a thing, but people know during the Video Game Awards, look out for trailers.
Yeah,
so,
and even the hosts are like aware. They're like, yeah, we know what you're here for. Let's move along. Let's do this. So
yeah, at least they got it. But more importantly than the Video Game Awards, Chris, this is our last episode of the year.
Yes.
2022. We are in the month of December. I think most people are kind of used to some of their media and podcasts going on hiatus towards the end of the year. People got things to do with their family. We got schedule conflicts. But luckily, the last episode that we have here for the year is a stuffed one.
Yeah.
We got lots of drama to talk about from DC. And then, as we mentioned before, yes, we're going to watch Avatar. We're going to review it. It's going to be an extravaganza, but look for that in the brand new year, 2023. And we'll sit down and we'll talk it all out. I mean, that movie is like 3 hours plus long.
The new one is 3 hours and
We got to
10
rewatch
minutes.
the first one. Chris is going down to Disney World next weekend, which is why we're not recording. And he's going to be like riding the ride. So Chris is going to be like Avatar primed from head to toe. So, go ahead, read the other reviews, go watch anyone else that you want to watch on YouTube, talk about the movie, but then stick around.
Yeah.
And then you'll see us in January try to figure this blue world out.
That's right. Blue world with blue water. I think that's going to be the worst, not the worst part, the hardest part to visually get across is there's these blue people running blue creatures in blue water.
Hey, if you're colorblind, I think there's a chance they might be like green or like yellowish brown.
Oh, yeah.
Write in if you're colorblind. What color are the Na'vi? I want to know.
You lucky son of a bitch. No, so yes, so I will be going to Disney World next week. This is like the one of the few times where I don't normally travel in the winter. We're going to Disney World, which I've talked up. I really only have one thing I want to do there, Mike, and you know what this one thing I want to do at Disney World is. Like, we're going for 4 days, but what's the one thing I want to do more than anything?
You're trying to get a black crystal.
I'm trying to build a goddamn lightsaber. Yes.
So somehow you can create black light, which is like an oxymoron. So I'm really curious what the hell happens in this lightsaber when it shoots out black light.
It's going to shoot black light everywhere. You're going to get black light all over the place. But it's more along like the dark saber, right? Like, everyone's like, you get a dark saber, it's the black lightsabers. I don't think it's going to look as cool as that, but the lightsabers there are a high quality build. You go into this workshop, you pick one of 4 different like styles of sabers you want, whether you want like an Obi-Wan Anakin style, like a Jedi Temple Guard style, like a one that's more natural, and then the Sith style. And then you build it from there. I know listeners of the show have done it. Listeners of Jason, whose birthday is today, happy birthday, Jason, built a lightsaber when he was there last. So I know he's got experience. Very excited. But yes, when you go to the gift shop, you can buy more crystals for your saber to change the color anytime you want. The red ones have a chance to have a black crystal in it, which you don't know until you get it. I'm very excited to get a black crystal, hopefully, knock on wood. Probably not going to walk out of there with one, but, if I keep my sights aimed high, I can probably do this. But I really just want to build a lightsaber. The Star Wars lane wasn't open last time I was there, but I could see it. Like it's similar to you showing me pictures of the Super Nintendo world. It's the same thing when I was in I was like standing at the gate looking in the Star Wars land. I'm like, that's the Millennium Falcon.
It's like, it's so close. I'm almost there.
Yeah. So my whole 1 day's whole planned entirely around that and eating at Pizza Rizzo, which is the Muppet Rizzo Raz pizza place.
Yes, get yourself some blue milk as well at Star Wars Land.
We have a reservation at the bar, the drink place that you have to
Oga's Cantina.
Yeah, we have a reservation there.
Yeah, that's great. Everyone goes on and on and on about this thing called a Ronto wrap. I've yet to have one, but it's like a hybrid of like hot dog meets like pita or something like that. People seem to really like it. So if you're hungry and you're in Star Wars Land, give yourself the pleasure of trying a Ronto wrap. I think I like it.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at it right now. Savory grilled sausage and roasted pork wrap. Ooh. They even have like a little, I guess it's an animation of a droid rotating the spick when you get there. It looks like. It's pretty funny. But yeah, so we have reservations for that. But the other thing, we weren't going to go to the Animal Kingdom, but one of the things that we were going to do was not available the week we're there. So we're actually going to get some park hoppers, go to Animal Kingdom, and do the Avatar rides, and go into, I guess, Pandora section at night. Apparently they light it up really, really well. So I'll be bringing some of that back in a couple weeks. But yes, let's go back into the video game. I want to talk about Video Game Awards real fast. Just a couple highlights here. People who listen to the show know I'm a huge fan of Marvel Snap, the mobile game, right? Free to play, card based. It won the best mobile game of the year, so I feel validated.
Man, they snatched that up pretty quickly. That game just came out, didn't it?
Yeah, it's been out for I've been playing for about 2 months now. But yeah, like it's a back half of the year, not an earlier half of the year. So I don't know what the other competitors were, but I'm sure there are some maybe Genshin Impact or like those other you set the phone down, it plays itself kind of games. But Marvel Snap's really, really fun if you like that. And the other thing I thought was cool, Mike, because we like VR, we're big VR fans, is the Ghostbusters VR gameplay trailer was released, and I don't know if you got a chance to see this or not.
No, I'll have to go check that out.
Yeah, I'll make sure it's linked in here before we put it out. But you're 4 player together, and you each have a VR headset, but you're literally trapping ghosts with your proton packs, right? Like you're hooking them 4 players, and someone has to throw out a trap and capture it. It looked pretty cool, if I'm going to be completely honest, because I didn't expect 4 player, right? Ghostbusters. Like when you hear VR, most are solitary kind of gameplays. So for them to have voice chat and multiplayer and co-op is really, I think, a huge selling point for me. And I know it's coming out for Oculus systems pretty soon. So I'm pretty stoked for that. But we got some more related content from the Video Game Awards later in the show. We'll talk about some pretty cool stuff. But you sent me a message. I believe was it yesterday or Friday about one of Zack Snyder's weirdest movies he's ever made. And I've seen Army of the Dead. So go on and tell us how you are now catching up on this classic movie years later.
Yeah. Well, I've seen 2 movies this week, Chris. I've had the pleasure and displeasure of watching both of these films. The first one up is Sucker Punch from 2011, like Chris was saying, from Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder is in the headlines this week, thanks to James Gunn and Warner Brothers again. So I was thinking, I feel like I have like this little Zack Snyder hole in my history of viewing in my brain. So I was like, I need to go watch Sucker Punch. I remember this movie when it came out. I remember seeing the trailers. They were very frenetic, lots of crazy stuff going on.
Slow motion, like nobody's business, right?
Yes. I just vividly remember like it's like cheerleaders or like schoolgirls like holding katana blades and guns. I was like, well, this is pretty wild. And then, of course, after it came out, I remember it was met with very poor critical reception, so I just made the decision, I don't think I need to watch this one. Also, 2011, we were both kind of graduating from college. We had other things to worry about, so this one kind of fell through the cracks. So, not surprisingly, you kind of have to search this one. You have to hunt it down. Not easily available to watch on a streaming service, so I had to watch it on Tubi with commercial breaks in between the acts. And this is a wild wild example of a film. This is the perfect example of Zack Snyder should have just stayed directing music videos. Maybe that's where his niche was, because he has the flair for the visuals, but man, the story is just absolutely rings hollow, and sometimes it left me feeling like a little disgusting to the point of, let me explain. I was telling Chris is when I was watching Sucker Punch, since it has such a specific point of view and story, I almost thought that this was an adaptation of a graphic novel, right? Because studios liked adapting graphic novels and comic books, especially back in the late aughts, if you will, because it has a built-in audience. The story's already kind of proven. So I thought that's what was happening here. And then when I see the contents of this movie about like mental health, abuse, prostitution, all of these like really heavy things, I'm thinking like, why did they have Zack Snyder adapt this graphic novel? This is like the perfect example of a movie that should have been, at the very least, written by a woman. It would have been even better if it was directed by a woman. And then I was shocked to find out, not only is this not an adaptation, this is totally from the mind of Zack Snyder, written and directed by him, and pretty much only greenlit off of the fact that he did Watchmen, 300, and Dawn of the Dead. So he had proved himself financially successful from the studios, and they did the worst thing that you can do with these very, very visionary directors is just take your hands off the wheel, release the reins, let them do whatever they want, and you get this crazy movie that I was just... I should have caveated, Chris. I fast-forwarded through the second act and most of the third act. I couldn't put up with it anymore. Just watching this crazy, weird, almost Inception-like dream sequence of a story where the character kind of fugues out and pretends her trauma is like a weird action movie. And it's like
escapism, like... but not done well.
Yeah, it's so strange. And then, of course, you can go ahead and find commentary online from Snyder saying like, oh, the studio forced me to cut scenes. There's a director's cut of this movie that I believe totally vindicates all of my decisions, but I don't even know who owns the rights for this movie anymore, so you're just going to have to wait and see. And the thing he was complaining about the most was like the studio asked him to cut a sex scene between the main character and John Hamm, and he was like, oh, it was going to be really empowering in a way to watch this scene. And it's just like, come on, dude, this movie just did not work. You know, I appreciated that you went at it with a vision, but man, for a movie just so intense, like I would say some of the action scenes are worthwhile just to look up on YouTube. And yes, they are all cut and clipped and put up on YouTube because they're really the only redeeming parts of the movie, right?
Yeah.
So there's like a cool kind of like samurai fight scene. There's like some Nazi zombie World War II like creatures that are interesting. Like just go watch some of the clips on YouTube.
Yeah.
Don't watch this movie. It's not good.
Well, it's got a really stacked cast is the weird part as well, right? Like, Emily Browning's the main actress, and I remember her from American Gods. Oscar Isaac as
that was
villain.
a surprise to see Oscar Isaac. I was like, what are you doing in this movie, dude?
And John Hamm, I think, is also in it for a little bit here and there. It's got a really interesting cast of great actors and actresses, but like this is just a really, really again, it's a long music video, or like maybe multiple music videos that were just kind of strung together and tried to make a story out of.
Remember when we were talking about Army of the Dead, however many years ago that was, and we talk about how on the nose Snyder is with his musical choices. Like he did put zombie in his Army of the Dead.
Oh yeah.
In this one, during the scene where she gets taken to like the insane asylum, the song like "There Goes My Mind," and it's just like, come on, dude, can you not think past the most obvious like decision? It was just anyway. So that was Sucker Punch. I'm glad it's gone and over with, and now I have some fuel, some ammunition when we get into the DC bits later in this episode. But on a positive note, I had a chance to see Puss in Boots: The Last Wish a couple weeks early, just yesterday, and I went in with pretty low expectations because, I mean, come on, Puss in Boots, it's a spin-off character from the second Shrek movie. It had its own, like, I think it was I don't know if it was streaming, but it had its own like TV show.
I think it was a Netflix series.
That I'm sure was primarily like aimed like towards kids and everything. And then all of a sudden, like, it's coming back, and then there's like a little bit of intrigue because they're using kind of like this new visual look and design to the world and the character. So I went in and surprisingly had a great time. The script is really funny. I love the story. It's very quick and to the point. There's this kind of wolf-like adversary character in the movie that's like legitimately creepy, the way they film it and light it and shoot it. They do kind of the slower frame rate stop motion style in certain scenes to kind of like punch up the emotion and the feeling of it. And it has like a great resolution, and there's like some kind of little tear-jerker, like family style moments towards the end, and it was great. Like, I was shocked. I'm almost like a little upset that the movie kind of has to contend against Avatar this holiday.
Yeah.
It comes out a week after Avatar, so hopefully maybe it'll be some kind of like some counter programming during the month of October.
I don't think children who've been born since Avatar 1 come out want to watch Avatar 2. So I think this might be a good opportunity if you need to possibly clean your palate.
But big recommendation for Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. The voice cast is amazing. It's been a while since I've seen like an animated feature film where like the voice cast to me was more than just kind of like there, right? Like, this really feels like they are becoming the characters, and less like they made a bunch of characters knowing that these famous actors were going to play them. So Antonio Banderas is just, chef's kiss. He's great as Puss in Boots. I always forget how good of a voice actor he is, especially for that character. So yes, go watch Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
I just want to go ahead and say I really like the first one as well. I think it's still got a pretty good I don't know the Rotten Tomatoes score. I saw this the other day because they were doing all the Shrek movies because of this one. I think it actually is like above most of the other Shrek movies, like except maybe like the first one. So I wouldn't discount this franchise at all. It's very witty. It's got one of my favorite moments. One of my favorite gifs I probably use more than anything. It's like these two cats are like being quote unquote catty in like a bar, and this one in the middle is like ooh and puts his hand over his mouth. It's like,
I think I remember that.
Yeah, it's hilarious, but it's got a pretty good lineup as well. I think most of the voice cast came back for this, so that's awesome. I would say the humor is slightly
more family friendly than I would say one of the mainline Shrek movies, which I would say push the envelope maybe a little bit more towards adult humor. But there is a little bit of that too in this movie. So feel free to take the whole family. You'll have a great time.
And I just looked it up. The Adventures of Puss and Boots on Netflix had 6 seasons.
Oh, dang. They're pumping those out.
I mean, Netflix notorious for canceling things after 2 seasons. Did 6 of these, so fantastic. Good for it. That's awesome. Good recommendation. On the flip side of that, Mike, we had a Christmas gathering here at my house yesterday with some close family and friends. And I was able to literally make my own Christmas movie playlist and put it on and watch it in the background while people are over. So a lot of these, again, were mostly background, means I've seen a lot of them, but that always means I always perk up whenever my favorite parts are coming. Akin to, I will say, like a Christmas Vacation, I hear the music for the scene, and I'm like, he's about to say Merry Christmas, shitter was full. So I just know. But the movies I got to watch yesterday include the Santa Claus, the original Tim Allen movie, which just got a new show on Netflix, or not Netflix, Disney Plus. That's, I believe, wrapping up soon. How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the cartoon version, which is the superior version. I don't care what anybody says, Mike. We have to throw down A Christmas Story, which I'm not as familiar with. I didn't grow up watching this in our house, but was able to see. I always said, You'll Shoot Your Eye Out, the Pink Bunny outfit, the leg lamp, obviously. There, Ernest Saves Christmas. I always tell people to thank Ernest P. Worrell every year for saving Christmas, because if he didn't save Christmas, we wouldn't have it anymore. It was it. Christmas Vacation, obviously, and then today is the 30th anniversary of A Muppet Christmas Carol, which we watched. And that new version, which I've talked about almost every week for the show for the past month, is now on Disney Plus. So you can go watch with the extra 3-minute song as well. But I was able to literally get most of my Christmas movies in one sitting this weekend, which was fantastic because, again, when we go to Disney for the week before Christmas, you don't watch a movie when you go to Disney World, Mike. You don't sit down in the hotel. You go. So very, very excited to get this. I did say, because I asked you for recommendations, the one movie I didn't put on here, which I think a lot of people would agree is Elf, needed to be in here for a background noise, because you don't have to watch it to know everything going on there. So my call is still, if you have any Christmas movie recommendations, classics, favorites, let me know, because I'm just going to keep building this playlist. So if anyone, comes over, I can just be like, we'll throw this on, pick a random one and go and have it keep playing. So happy holidays to everyone. Merry Christmas. It's almost early in the show, but we will talk to you after Christmas. But let's go ahead and say it now, Mike. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to everybody. Let's jump into the news. And the news that we've already talked about multiple times before we even get to this point is Avatar: The Way of Water releases in theaters on Friday. So if you've been dying to see a sequel 13 years later to Avatar, now's your chance. What I did not know, and simply because this movie, The Way of Water, is coming out, there's more and more Avatar articles, is the Avatar: The Last Airbender movie, which nobody claims, was called The Last Airbender because James Cameron has trademarked the movie Avatar since 1999. So even when they were making that movie, they couldn't use it because James Cameron still owned the copyright on that movie title or whatever, which is wild to think he's had it, I guess, in his back pocket for coming up on 25 years.
Yeah, he was ready to go. It's always funny to me, the word Avatar. I was introduced to it first through the internet, right? Before they were called profile pictures, they were called avatars, pretty much up and down the border. And then I think also in the Xbox 360 era, when you could make the little kind of thing that was kind of similar to a Nintendo Mii, I think those are also called avatars.
Yep.
As well. So it's always it's funny to me that this new generation doesn't really understand that word is not really something new that was invented to mean aliens in a way.
But it doesn't, because the movie, you're literally embodying another thing that represents you. So you are being it is an avatar in the same way as the internet, but I don't even think, I just think James Cameron's blue people. I know what you're saying. It's like an alien.
Yeah, I always have to remind myself that they're actually called Neytiri, right?
No, that's they're Na'vi. Neytiri.
Na'vi, that's right.
Is the Zoe Saldana's character's name.
Oh, okay. See,
you were confusing. There. Yeah, it's right. And the actor who plays Jake Sully, I can't think of his name. He was in Terminator, and he was like in like 8 movies in like 2 years. Like every action movie you turn around had this guy in him, and he's not been in anything since Avatar. I'm like, oh, is he coming out of retirement to do this? What? But
maybe he had like a cushy contract. They're like, we don't want to lose you in between the first one and the second one.
Yeah, we're gonna pay you residuals, so just stay fit and
man,
you'll be
can you
fine.
Imagine? He's just like, I'll just take 1%
off
the top of this movie.
0.5% still. You'd still be rolling in it. The other cool thing about this, and I don't have it in the notes here, it's just more of a talking point I mentioned, I think maybe off air, is they have filmed all of Avatar 3 already, right? They did 2 and 3 at the same time because they shot it like a 6-hour movie. Like that, if they're in one location, they're going to film all the scenes in one location at a time. That way they only have to pack up and move, as minimal as possible, which was cool. But they've also filmed, I believe they said the first act or maybe the first third of the 4th movie already, because I believe it might have been the producer or John Landau, the producer, or James Cameron himself said there is a time jump, like a 5-year time jump, in that movie, the 4th movie, or a couple-year time jump. So they filmed everything they needed to the kids as kids, and then they were like, okay, well, we'll come back and film this after you've aged up a bit to fill the role a little bit better. So there's no guarantee we're even going to get a 4th movie, but I would not be surprised if we get all 5. Like, just even if the last one just breaks even, which I think it still will, make money. I think they're going to make all 5 of these when it's all said and done. This isn't Black Adam we're talking about here, Mike. This actually this has the opportunity to make money along the way.
Are you foreshadowing here?
I am. Yes, I am. I'm very much so. We got DC news like nobody's business next. So Avatar out of the way. We're not going to talk about it again until next year. So we will let you guys know what we think when we come back. Let's jump into DC. The biggest news, I think, that maybe overshadowed the rest of the news this week was Wonder Woman 3 is not moving forward at Warner Brothers in its current state, Mike, or at least what was going to be its current state.
And I feel like chronologically too as well. We'll talk about the other bits of news, but this seemed to be like a late Wednesday, maybe Thursday revelation in the week, and there had already been other kind of like foreboding news for DC earlier in the week. So by the time I got to this Wonder Woman news, it's just kind of like, oh, they're cleaning house is what it seems like. They are trying to start from scratch.
Well, yes and no. So this is the interesting part here. I don't know why this is coming out now, because apparently Patty Jenkins fought with the Warner Brothers executives before James Gunn and Peter Safran even came into the picture here. Because she didn't want to edit her script and story. She wanted to do it as is. And then apparently in this whole, back and forth with them, she sent them an email with the wiki link to the definition of character arc. Because, she wanted to, I guess, have it her way at the end of the day. Like, she's fighting with him. So I think, even though it is interesting it's coming out with all this other news, this might have just been in the background and someone got their hands on it because of everything. Like, hey, here's the new slate from James Gunn. Wonder Woman 3 is not on it. They didn't do it. Somebody else made that decision beforehand. Yeah,
and also, to be clear, a lot of the news that came out this week was from like The Hollywood Reporter or Deadline. So these weren't like official announcements. So somebody within DC is like reaching out and talking to the news. So obviously we have to take a little bit with grain of salt, but this was, so much had happened this week that even James Gunn made like an official announcement along the sides of some of the stuff you heard is true, some of it wasn't, and some of it just has not been decided yet. So I think the safest thing to take away from this is that there's going to be a big shakeup on the DC side of things, which makes sense. You don't hire I've heard this saying before relating to other things, right? It's like you don't bring in new people or you don't buy something brand new to not do anything with it or to not change it, right? It's not like they're going to like stay the course and just like, you know, give better notes on scripts, right? They're going to totally like change the strategy over there, DC. And honestly, I think the funniest rebuttal to the whole Patty Jenkins sending the link to Wikipedia for character arc is like, oh, did they reply with the reviews for Wonder Woman 2? Which is, I would say, a pretty funny dig. Also, like, a defender could always say like, oh, well, the studio, you know, interfered with the second one and maybe it wasn't her vision, or the fact of the matter is we're just never going to know the whole truth, exactly what it was. But we could say there is a pretty wild difference between the first Wonder Woman and the second Wonder Woman. So what the heck happened? And how often, right, is the first movie good, second movie bad, and then the third movie comes back around to being good? I mean, the only thing off the top of my head is like, yes, Avengers or like maybe Thor. It does not happen often.
But the difference between those is those were different people running the ship, right, every time.
Exactly.
Like, if you have the same person in charge, you're going to get a Zack Snyder situation, right? You're going to get a Man of Steel, you're going to get a Batman v Superman, and then the Justice League. Even you know, Joss Whedon being the link that made Avengers 2 bad, and Justice League, obviously, I think worse than the one that came out, but still both of them weren't amazing at the end of the day. Now, I think the other thing is here, Gal Gadot, she could easily stay on as you know, Wonder Woman, right? They could do a Wonder Woman 3 with a different writer and a different director. I don't think that is out the gate completely. I just think, and you know, this is Patty Jenkins trying to stand her ground and pull essentially again, just because I talk about Avatar, a James Cameron, right? Like, hey, I did this first movie good. Give me 3 and don't tell me what to do. But obviously, too, critically and probably financially, because it was on HBO Max, and I don't blame her for that. Probably a lot of the signs are saying, yeah, we need to work to. I'm going to be nice, but we need to work together to make this better. And she's saying, no, I don't want the feedback. I want to do what I want to do because it's the story I want. But I still think Wonder Woman and Gal Gadot has a place in a new DC universe with James Gunn, whatever James Gunn and Peter Safran are planning. I think that she could fit into there, right? Like her 2 movies are, if you take out the Snyder stuff, her 2 movies are in the past and could easily pull her into the future and not have any issues, right? I mean, I don't think Gal Gadot was a problem at all with her stuff.
Yeah, no, she still is a great Wonder Woman, but yeah, we'll have to see strategically what happens. So let's, I guess, move on to the next character in this DC universe and theorize about that one. So
in I think a Q&A maybe on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever James Gunn's doing, it could be Mastodon even, he has said that Superman is an important character for DC. However...
Wait, gasps, really?
Yeah. However, a Man of Steel 2 pitch was rejected by executives pre-James Gunn and Peter Safran again. But Henry Cavill announced his return before the script was denied, like in like kind of like the Black Adam era of this. So it sounds like a lot of people jumped a gun and then got their hand slapped because they were like, no, we actually don't want this. So no one is sure if a Man of Steel 2 is actually moving forward at this time. And I think this is probably when you mentioned James Gunn saying like, hey, some of this is true, some of this isn't, some of it's still in flux. This might be the flux one, right? Like this feels like, yes, you need to do Superman. You have to have Superman. But we don't know what's happening with this. They haven't done anything in years. It'll be 10 years in 2023 since we had a solo Superman film.
Yeah, I mean, I hate it that the best solution also just ends up, it looks like they'll probably be copying something Marvel's heading towards, right? With some sort of big multiversal clash. And I'm not saying this is unique to Marvel either. DC has also done this in comic books as well, right? But Marvel looks like they're going to beat them to the punch again, because it looks like the best solution for DC to do is kind of take what you have right now that works, maybe move forward with it a little bit, and then do something creatively to wipe the slate clean and start over from scratch, because that's what they want with all of these characters, right? They want them to synergize and be like combo breaking multipliers like on a Street Fighter game, right? Yeah, a couple good punches every once in a while is good, but they want that like 24 hit combo that gets them billions and billions of dollars, spins off theme park land sells tons of merch, streaming shows. You can't do that when you're just kind of doing these one-off movies, and every once in a while one of them's good.
Yeah, and I think it's you could have a lighter, like you mentioned One Two Punch, like you have like a heavy one and a lighter two, right? Like we mentioned before, and we've talked about Ant-Man, like you have an Avengers movie and then an Ant-Man. Okay, Ant-Man may not be the best movie and the most record-breaking in the world, but people still feel in that universe, right? Like it's all there. Like, hey, this is going to pay off someday down the road. And again, I saw a picture today. I didn't put it in here, but the Joker 2 is filming. What does that have to do with any of this? Anything?
Exactly.
No, nothing at all. While it can and probably will be a good movie or something that people watch and talk about, Superman is one of the biggest characters in the comic books. Something everybody knows. They had cartoons. The Christopher Reeve movie came out 44 years ago yesterday, right on the anniversary. So we've been watching Superman. I believe they even had what was it? What was that animated show I downloaded for you, Mike? The old Superman stuff from the 40s.
The Fleischer Superman.
Yeah, like they've been doing Superman for years, and here we are just kind of wondering if they're going to do Superman, right? Like you've got to make an action.
And also, this is a good time to remind everybody. These franchises and characters are going to die along with the heat death of the universe, right? When we're all elderly, or no matter what age you are, like all of this is going to get rebooted again and turned around and over. Like this isn't the first time they've made superhero movies, right?
Yeah.
Like look back at classic Superman, or even the Batman universe that they were building out, for a while there. When when the novel idea was making a sequel to a superhero movie, oh wait, they're coming back as Batman, and we're going to see similar characters again. So this is all a good point to remind yourself, whatever's happening right now is not the end all be all of what you'll be watching in the future. You'll be in a different chapter of your life in a decade. 2 decades, they'll make more. Maybe they'll get it right that time for you.
Yeah.
But I feel like we are past this phase and universe, and might be able to ink out a couple more movies with these actors, but this can't keep going forward.
Even if you keep the actors, a change is needed, right? And that's, I think, what you're saying is you can't continue what's happened, in this, essentially the Zack Snyder's set up, right? The past 10 years, you've got to wipe it clean, or keep the actors. You got to have a reset button. Okay, we're gonna power this off, power it back on, and hopefully we get something different, kind of deal. So hopefully there is a soft reboot that happens and is good, because I think you can still salvage some bad stuff, right? I think if you look at the MCU, it didn't start on a great foot, right? Iron Man 1's great. Incredible Hulk, people really don't talk about it, right? It's not really getting its payoff until recently. Iron Man 2, not that good, right? In hindsight, it's okay. It's not the best movie in the world. Thor 1, mediocre, right, to people. When they bleach Chris Hemsworth's eyebrows, God, I can't watch that. Even Captain America, it's a good movie, but I don't, we're not talking Black Adam numbers here. And then we'll bring up what that means in a second. But there's ways to fix some of this, and I think they just need to. We've always talked about with DC. Someone is now driving the ship, right? We've always said someone needs to drive the ship. They got someone to drive the ship, 2 people. Now start making a plan of action and follow it. Because if you don't, we're just going to be spinning our wheels by the time their contract's up, and they're like, well. And they'll probably get frustrated. Nothing got done, and we'll be back in this whole cycle again of mediocre films or people being wishy-washy, cameos for these actors that have been around for 20 years that they never got a movie from. So, I think we're both in agreement there. But hopefully, I don't mind Henry Cavill. I think he could be fine, but Superman needs to be a priority going forward. Black Adam, boy, The Rock, he is out here just using his social media presence to his benefit. If he's not trying to promote a jacked J.K. Simmons for his Red 1, is it Red 1 movie? Because there's Red Notice, and now there's Red 1. It's his Christmas movie. That's going to be on Netflix. He has out saying, very much so, after we talked last week about Black Adam not making a profit, he is saying, yes, this movie is making money for people. Like, maybe not a lot of money, but it's making some money, folks. So don't listen in to all the quote unquote noise out there on the internet. So,
like I say every time I criticize The Rock, at the risk of one day getting my face
being
punched
in an elevator with him,
and like just being obliterated into little bits of matter from an angry Dwayne The Rock Johnson. That tweet was so sad, and I would stretch to say almost pathetic in a way, right? You are The Rock, one of, if not the biggest movie star on the planet. You should not be tweeting about making a couple $1 million off a superhero movie. You should be tweeting about breaking records when you make a superhero movie, right? So it's just, I feel like he would have just looked so much stronger and then perceived so much better if he just didn't bring it up. Like, just move on to the next property. Like, this isn't working, dude. The movie wasn't good. I know there's some defenders out there, but overall, this did not launch the way that you thought. So just move on. It just felt so. It's like, what are you doing? Put the phone down. Like, somebody take the login away from him. This is sad to me.
So the other part of his, the second half of his tweet, he says, it's making, $50 million, 400 million worldwide. And then he somehow in parentheses puts the first Captain America did 370 million. A movie in 2011 at the turning point of superhero movies, right? Like before the next movie after it did $1 billion. That's not a good thing. You don't want to compare against a movie 11 years ago that was like building, something, and like, we did 30 million more than it did when it came out. I'm like, dude, they had a plan back then, right? Like they knew the next movie was Avengers, and they had a building stone. You don't have a building stone. It's just really, like you said, embarrassing that you have to go out there and do this.
Yeah, it's strange. It's almost like this is the first time the Rock in a long time has kind of found a crack right in his armor. The first time he's kind of underperformed in his this phase of his career, so he's just trying to remind people, like, oh no, we can still make this work. We can still make this work. Like, no, you are supposed to be posting wins and wins and wins, not like these like technicalities. Also, if you really want to go into it, like with inflation, he really didn't do better than that movie.
I just did the math. It's 90 million less than.
Yeah, it's not like a huge factor difference, but yeah, it's not the same if you.
That's that's 25% of the whole gain right there. It's like, but
it's just
anyway.
Like, it's like, come on, man. It just didn't work out.
Yeah.
You weren't gonna be making bangers for your entire life, so you just roll with the punches.
Well, the best thing is just shut up. Just don't say anything. like that's the best thing you could have done, right? Don't draw attention to it, because people. No one. I've not met anyone defending Black Adam but The Rock at this point. Not that it's a bad movie, but like it's not the best movie right this year. It's not the worst easy. We saw Morbius, but the way he talks.
For the way he talks about it, I mean, it's just like, come on.
It changed the world. But anyway, I know he's his own hype man, and if he's not hyping himself up, who is? But like, after all this talk about it and everything, like right now, everyone is very unsure about the status of Black Adam in the DCU going forward. Whether that's Gunn's and again, I'm always say Gunn and Safran. I want to give James Gunn all the credit because I know it's a duo working there. But like, if they say, man, we don't see this, or no, he's out, right? Like, he's not really making the calls at the top of the food chain here.
That's gonna be like a straight, like, who breaks the news to one of the biggest movie stars in the world, right? Like, ooh, sorry, but it just didn't work. Like, I wouldn't, like, they get paid a lot to deliver that bad news, so I don't feel bad, but like, whew, that's gonna be a rough. Maybe they'll just do it over Zoom, right?
Yeah.
No, you don't need to come in, Dwayne. No, you don't need to come in today. Just follow this Zoom link. Trust me.
Did you get that large order of chicken we sent you? Do you have it in front of you? Okay, good. Well, now that we've got all your chicken, let's tell you the bad news.
Yes, don't worry. It's boneless. It's skinless. You're good to go.
I could also see James Gunn and Peter Safran calling him like, hey, look, this isn't working in our plan. It's not you, it's us, right? Kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe even like, hey, look, we have a plan for you. It may not be what you want to do, but we can take this character and fit you in here. Do you want to play ball? Kind of deal.
Yeah, I could see, like, because I think Safran and Gunn are talented, and they could position, all of these pawns that are on the table in a way that could, win the game, right? But everyone's going to have to play ball. And I mean, I think before the movie came out, Dwayne wasn't going to bend to anybody, right? He thought this was going to be a huge deal. But now that it's not, maybe now he's a little bit more open to compromise.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, honestly, how do you leverage The Rock does have a voice, right? He does have he's very vocal. People do listen to his tweets, whether they're right or wrong, or any social media. And so, like, how do we leverage that as well? Like, how can we, like, hey, look, our goal is to have you eventually, we're going to fight Shazam. Like, I know you want to fight Superman, but we need to have you do the Shazam thing first. We're doing a magic in the DCU portion. Maybe one day we'll get to Superman, but can you go along? So I think there's opportunity, and not saying he's outright completely, but I don't think he's, like you said, he's not making that call anymore. Like, he ate all those chickens, so counting his eggs before they hatch, if you will. Aquaman. So this is the other news, and I think this is more fan news than actual news. This is where I'm going to go down this road, Mike, because this doesn't sound right. So Aquaman, Jason Momoa may not stay in the role of Aquaman Arthur Curry after the Lost Kingdom movie comes out later in 2023, the end of 2023. It is very heavily rumored that he will transition to the role of Lobo, the Galaxy bounty hunter, in the DCU, because he's always lobbied and wanted to play that part. James Gunn has also, I believe, shared a photo of Lobo on his social channels. I don't know why he couldn't do both, right? Like, I think they could look pretty close and be the same actor, and no one would say anything or be confused, because one's in space, one's in water. But
I mean, I guess if the longer term plan is to kind of bring all of these things together in some sort of event or crossover movie, right? I think that could be kind of odd, or maybe not odd. We just haven't quite seen that exact scenario play out, right? If they do something multiversal, right, in Marvel, and they bring back the kind of somewhat classic Fantastic Four, right? Is there going to be like a Johnny Storm that kind of looks like, hey, you kind of look like somebody I met before, right? Is that joke going to play out? But, it's like I said before, all of these solutions could be coming to a multiversal type of situation. So theoretically, if there's infinite universes, right,
like a Crisis on Infinite Earths?
Yeah, like the human being that became Arthur Curry, maybe in this universe actually became Lobo, or I think if there is a generalized reset, right, in DC at some point in time, you can swap actors. It's not going to be that big of a deal. But I don't think canonically in the Aquaman universe that he lives in, whatever that is, of similar Lobo would exist.
Right.
So this would probably be some other universe. Yeah,
it could be. But if they don't do that, and then he goes to do... See, Aquaman, to me, Arthur Curry's one of the blonde-haired, right? The old classic, thing. Not the Jason Momoa look, which is like a newer... and that's fine. Like, maybe they could... Maybe it's not Arthur Curry. Maybe they replace the Aquaman with another one, and then Jason Momoa goes on and does Lobo somewhere else. So they're not the same actor. But even if they did, I think Lobo looks different enough. Like, if they were in the same scene, which I don't see them maybe doing, and if they did, it would just be them yelling "my man" at each other back and forth until someone's like, "You got to stop this. We gotta move on with the battle." But I think they can make it work if they wanted to. Now, is there any truth to this? Or is it just, again, Jason Momoa saying, "I really want to do this role," and that's all he's saying, and there's no actual truth to this? Possibly. He's probably making a lot of money playing Aquaman, and they're probably gonna have to do a pay cut if he's gonna go to a very obscure character such as Lobo, the space bounty hunter.
Yeah, I would imagine he would probably just maybe shift to a revenue share model on the box office. So they probably wouldn't have to worry too much about that.
I don't think he'll do it. I don't think. Who knows what's gonna fucking happen? But this is just a weird. It's a weird thing to think about, having one actor play two roles in the universe, but the way Stranger Things have happened. Well, I guess Doctor Strange played. That's variance. It's different. Anyway, moving on. Also with Aquaman, I read this and then you sent it to me later. Was that there's some test screenings going around, right, of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, and they are not including Ben Affleck's Batman in those screenings. So there's two ways to look at this. One is they've just cut him out, whatever they filmed with him. If they even filmed anything, I don't know if they did or not. Did they cut him out completely and they're just not using him anymore, which could be a feedback from the Safran Gunn, right? Heads on high, or are the test screenings not including everything because they're not ready yet, right? Like there's a lot of pre-production, especially I assume if you have underwater stuff, they're just not including all the scenes. They're just including like major beats to like, hey, did we get this right on test screenings? Yeah,
maybe that could be it. I wouldn't be surprised. But also, right, we have other. I feel like we've had other hints that maybe this Keaton is not gonna move forward as widely as we thought pre-Gunn and Safran. It seemed like they were gonna be building out something more with Keaton moving forward, and maybe now that's getting scaled back. I mean, especially with Batgirl off of the radar.
You're jumping ahead here. We're talking Ben Affleck first. You're jumping to the next bullet point. So Ben Affleck was doing Batman stuff from his Justice League with Aquaman. So it sounds like he's out completely.
See, this I will use my own confusion as an arguing point here. There are too many Batman going on. I'm so confused. And it's crazy to think that a Batman movie came out earlier this year. That was really good. And it was a totally brand new one. And it was good. Like, I'll use this as my point to say, like, if you are brand new and you're looking to like build off of a universe, just build off of that brand new Batman, right? I know it's a more grounded, realistic, like gritty world, and like, maybe that doesn't work with some of the other characters, or maybe it's not as big of a box office draw long term, but like you can slowly pivot and change it, right? Like we've had some pretty like dark and serious Marvel movies where the characters have crossover in more lighthearted tones, right? So that would be my idea, my strategy. You got a great brand new Batman here. This brand new Batman should meet Superman in a movie or two, and this brand new duo of Batman and Superman, they could come across Lobo in a couple other movies, right? It's just, I feel like they got a perfect starting point here, and I'd love them to go off of that and get some of these other Batman out of the way.
Well, so we're to clear your confusion, we're gonna move from Ben Affleck not being Aquaman to this Batman movie that was scrapped. That was called is essentially Batman Beyond. It was where Michael Keaton would move on past, I believe, the Flash and Batgirl to become a mentor to Terry McGinnis, right? Role in this movie. It was never previously announced, but they had a script. They'd had a lot of, I think a lot of people done, but like this was in works prior to James Gunn, Peter Safran, and I don't know if they killed it or somebody else killed it, but boy, would that have just confused you even more if all these had come to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, so this is kind of the weird thing where maybe I will deviate a little bit from what I just said. So I think the coolest thing about Batman Beyond, especially when I'm looking back at it nostalgically, is I loved the futuristic vibe of it, right? I loved kind of like this techno world that a Batman had to live in, and it really made Bruce feel out of his element too, right? Because he was this really like grizzled brawler, right? And now these new villains, you really have to, start using a lot more technology in order to like beat them, which kind of put Bruce out of his element. So like I can't imagine like the current Batman that we just started at the beginning of the year, like, oh, we're gonna have to wait like 20 years until Pattinson is old enough for him to be an older Bruce. Like, no, I'm not expecting that. So I'm almost okay with maybe if there's like an alternate future timeline where we get to do Terry McGinnis story, I would be okay with that. But I think Batman Beyond is so cool. I only want them to do it if it's really gonna work, right? So if they're starting to get like a little nervous that maybe this kind of like Keaton setup is not quite as solid as they thought it would be, I would err on the side of caution.
Well, again, this movie's not going to happen, so that's good. I'm going to lean the other way away from you because I don't have an affinity for Batman Beyond. I never watched it.
Chris, it's so good.
And that may be fine, but I think if we make an exception here, there's going to be more and more exceptions, right? We already have a Joker universe. We already have the Robert Pattinson universe. They're going to have these other Batman and somewhere. So I think we just nix it and then hopefully work towards that. Like you said, like Marvel, they didn't jump out with the Infinity Gauntlet, out the gate. They did wait and they built up to it. I think there's an opportunity to build towards this, and maybe it's not the same actor. Maybe in 10, 15 years, whatever, they age up that Batman, or maybe it's after the Crisis on Infinite Earths, they bring in an older Batman. But I don't want to start now having fractures and then try to figure it out again later.
Or if fractures and multiverses might be a step too far for maybe something they're trying to keep a little cleaner and reboot, a simpler solution would just be, I know it kind of seems silly. Oh, it's a simple solution, time travel, right? Because it could still, a Terry McGinnis could still exist in whatever mainline universe that they want to build up. Bring in some sort of time travel magic or technology, right? And they just get thrown into the future, and then bam, Terry McGinnis is there. I don't know.
I think if they're gonna do Batman Beyond, they need to earn it and build up to it. I think if they have this in their first quote unquote phase, I'm gonna say phase, right? Like maybe.
Oh yeah, no, I will say I agree. If they are going to kind of phase this out. Not phase it out as in how we usually use the word, but if they are going to define these movies with phases, I would not expect a Batman Beyond in this first.
Yeah, well, let them get to maybe phase 3, maybe the first movie after phase 4 is this Batman quote unquote Beyond kind of thing. I don't know, but there's opportunity for it. I just hope, I'm glad they're saving this, because boy, could this have confused everyone even farther, right? We have our Michael Keaton Batman training a younger Batman. With Ben Affleck and Robert Pattinson. This was the fourth Batman he was talking about the other day. Remember the David Zaslav was like, we're trying to get no more 4 Batmans. Maybe the McGinnis was the fourth Batman he was talking about. We just didn't really think about it.
Maybe.
Yeah. So, boy, howdy! I can't believe we can confuse you, Mike, in this. That's even even funner. In good news for people who do like DC movies, The Flash, which I believe is the next DC movie, correct me if I'm wrong, has moved up a week to June 16th, 2023. So that's not really a lot of difference there, but we are under the 6-month mark, or we will be under the 6-month mark next week to see this. So
yeah. It's more of a threat that this movie's still happening, right? Yeah. It's remember, just when you thought all the problems were over for Warner Brothers and DC, well, do you remember, they have actor out here running amok.
Well, this movie's had, I think, more release date changes than Morbius, and how many directors did it go through? And writers? Yeah. So, this is a miracle we even have a date written down, and then we'll see if they stick to it. But speaking of the Flash, we're going to jump into the one of the video game award things I wanted to talk about, and this is the Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League game coming out in next year, May of next year actually. So right before, about a couple weeks before the Flash. This trailer looks pretty fun, right? We've got the Suicide Squad featuring Captain Boomerang, King Shark, I believe it's Deadshot. Was it Deadshot? I believe, and Harley Quinn. With the Flash, it looks like they beat him up and captured him, and I believe Captain Boomerang cuts off his finger at one point with a boomerang. But the biggest reveal is that Batman is in this game, and he is controlled by Brainiac, as you can tell by his purple eyes. So that means he's going to kill people. But the best news of all is this: Kevin Conroy was able to provide his voice for Batman, aka and Bruce Wayne, for the entirety of this game before he passed a couple weeks ago. So, as far as I know, this is his last known appearance as this character, unless something else is announced later on. But that's going to be a really emotional aspect of the game, right? Because Kevin Conroy has done all the Batman video, I think most of the Batman voices in all the newer recent video games, and also knowing that it is his last, outing as the character as well.
Yeah, that's great, and this looks like it's going to be a pretty good game, or at least like premium in a sense where people will, you know, take it seriously. I mean, I suppose there could be more Conroy recordings out there that could come out, but like it's good that it's like not some sort of weird like Batman mobile game or something like that, right? At least it's going to be in a AAA title. Yeah. So rest in peace, Kevin.
Yeah, and it looks good. I mean, I think the humor looks great. It reminds me a lot of the Guardians game that came out last year. You know, in terms of like the team dynamics and stuff like that. So really cross my fingers this comes out good. So yeah, May 26, 2023. The other thing from the Video Game Awards is a video game based on Hellboy called The Web of Wyrd. It's a brand new story by Mike Mignola, and the thing I really wanted to call out here is the visual style for this game as Hellboy, and he's like, I don't know what creature he's fighting. It's a big, you know, beastly creature, is right out of the Mike Mignola comic book, right? Like, so it looks like you're playing the comic panels in this, is how cool it looks. And I wouldn't say it's cel shaded, but you know what? I don't know what the artwork style is called, Mike. But I think it looks like really fun for a video game.
Yeah, it looks exactly like the comic book, but it is kind of funny. It's like very stylistically accurate, but when I see games that look like this, I think of them more of like, oh, this is a smaller indie game that's going to have a shorter campaign, maybe like a $40 price tag. So I wonder if there's going to be a way that this game gets elevated right into like a, you know, I guess $70 price tag. Now, I mean, I feel ultimately the value of a game should come down to its gameplay, because that's what a video game is. But like I've still met people even recently that just say like, oh, I'm like a sucker for graphics as long as it like looks good, no matter what. I'll play it, right? So like there's still people out there like that in the world. So I guess we'll see kind of where this, you know, ends up landing.
Yeah, it says, you know, again, the description on the YouTube trailer says monsters, toe-to-toe brawling. You need to chain together hard-hitting melee and ranged attacks to fight a diverse array of increasingly nightmarish enemies. You know, there was another a game announcement this week, was a blend of it's Castlevania. It's another game and then also Castlevania at the same time. This doesn't look like it's side scrolling. It kind of looks like maybe third person fighting. But you got to watch this trailer, folks. Like literally, it looks stunning. Like just right out of the comic book pages. Like the bright reds, the dark shadows, and the white pops of white. It's just fantastic. And I'd love to see some more gameplay. Like, you know, there's probably gameplay in here. I just can't really pick out what it is based on this trailer. But it's really cool, you know, that Mignola's back for it. It's a unique story, so it's not like retelling a comic book, and does that. It kind of reminded me a little bit of like, was it game Limbo a little bit, in terms of like the coloring, you know, how it's using the comic book colors. But yeah, it's just unbelievable. You guys have to watch that link in the trailer. Moving along, we're going to switch gears into X-Men. This is a bit of a weird thing to come out this week. Is a never previously announced pre-Disney merger X-Men script called X-Men Fear the Beast has made its way online. And
this was a video game or not a video game, or
no? This is a movie. This is a movie script. Okay. So this is a story by Byron Burton and John Ottman. I don't know who those are.
Wow. Sorry, I just wasn't expecting the leak to literally be the PDF.
The PDF
of the script.
100 page script.
All right, hold on. I'm doing an experiment here. I'm scrolling. I'm going to say it looks like I'm probably in the third act right now. I'm just going to read one segment. I just landed.
What page are you on? What page are you on? So
I'm on page 72.
Okay.
Top of 72. Exterior log cabin. Two hunters stand side by side. They fire their pump-action shotguns. Boom, 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 boom. They unload on Mega Beast. Okay, Mega Beast. I guess Beast really beasts out in this movie.
Yep.
Mega Beast runs towards them using his human shields as protection. Boom, boom, click. Hunter 4 is out of ammo. Hunter 4. Shit. So that's just a little segment. It looks like maybe here from like a third act action scene.
Yeah. So the script actually stars, as you can tell, Beast. Right. It was supposed to be played by Nicholas Hoult. Wolverine, played by Hugh Jackman. Wendigo, which was supposed to be a mutant in this, where someone has a similar transformation to Beast, but it's more of a white, I guess, snow beast, if you will, and a Mr. Sinister as well. We're supposed to be in this.
Xavier's in it. Because
a little bit.
I'm on one of the last page. He's in there. Yeah,
he's at the start where he tells Beast about this using Cerebro, but the whole focus was mostly on Beast, Wolverine hunting Wendigo and the Mr. Sinister plot of how to like use this Wendigo blood to possibly make Beast better, which is why we get the Mega Beast in there as well. So this whole movie script is in here. Again, made a long time ago. I think is the date on here? No, the date's off the front of it. This is just wild that a whole movie script is online for an X-Men movie. I thought it was fan based, but it looks like it was actually maybe solicited as a pitch to them as well for Fox to make this before Dark Phoenix, I believe it was set. So that's wild. I mean, I can tell you're over there reading it, Mike. You're enthralled with this story.
No, I mean, I love this kind of stuff. So I was reading the very last line, which was like the post-credit scene of revealing Mr. Sinister. But this stuff is great because like this is just the tip of the iceberg. Every movie studio out there like that owns or holds on to these huge IPs, if they're not actively making the movie, they are getting scripts and treatments for these ideas and these IP. They might not necessarily do anything with them, but there are servers and hard drives out there in these studios of potential versions of all of these movies that just never got made. So yeah, think of any superhero you like. Chris, I guarantee you there is some sort of at least outline or treatment for a Sentry movie over at Marvel.
I have written several. Hopefully they've gotten my mail.
Okay. The ones that are out there, those are the ones you've been saying.
Yeah. So if hopefully they get back to me soon on those. But yeah, I think this is fantastic. If you've got some time, you want to read a script, see what a movie script looks like. If you've never really seen one, this is a good place to start. And again, none of this will probably ever come to fruition, but maybe some of these ideas could be used later, right? Like sometimes an initial treatment is just the structure and pieces are pulled out and rearranged and before the whole thing's made. But I think it's cool to see that the production behind it. Or maybe this was just thrown into a bot and this is what was spit out, Mike, a couple minutes later.
Oh my gosh. I will use this as an opportunity
to ahead.
Say I played with that new AI chat bot and that thing's freaky. Occasionally you'll ask it a question that'll just be like, I don't know anything about this person, so I don't know, good luck. But then it can do, I think the most impressive thing is the different types of writing styles it can do. It doesn't just put out paragraphs of ideas, right? If you want it to write it a list, it'll write you a list. If you want bullet points of certain ideas, it'll give you that. It can write you haikus. It can write screenplay formats.
Well, the screenplay, because you wrote like a little, like you sent a prompt about something about a couple of the group chat, and I was like, oh, this is wild.
Yeah, so I would say it's fun, but also I will say, because we like to talk a lot about this AI stuff on the podcast recently, I want to say as a caveat, it is really, really important to realize all of this stuff is trained on things that was already created by creative people, whether they're creative writers, whether they were artists out there. So it's not like this is like some savant programmer invented an artificial brain that dreams up this stuff out of nowhere. This is just all just re-put together puzzle pieces of things that have already been out there. And we're to the point now with it where you're not always going to be able to track down the little bits and bobs. Like, it could have given me a phrase or a whole sentence that came straight out of somebody else's writing, and unless somebody like Google searches, like every single word or line of something that this chatbot puts out, you might never know that it's just ripping somebody off. Yeah. So that's all I want to say. It's been fun to play with and see what it can do, but don't start taking these things and maybe try to like monetize them and claim that you're some sort of a genius. That's all I want to say. You can't stop progress in technology. That's the one thing I'm seeing on the other side. Like, we can be very worried about what the AI is doing, and I think that's fair, but unfortunately there's nothing you can really do to stop it. That's just kind of how technology works. So hopefully people will act a little more ethically moving forward when it comes with some of these things. But as of right now, it's just fun to play.
It's a fun toy. Like we goof around with it. Like we've put stupid shit in those things like for hours. And that's really about where it is. I don't think I'd ever use it for anything. It is fun to do. I'll tell you. If you got an idea and you're like the thumbnail again, Mike creates the thumbnails. We were both throwing this in several bots to try to get it to create the thumbnail you made today. based on voice props. So that was really fun, but we never got anything close, but it was fun.
Yeah, I think a really fun use for it is it does kind of just help you shake loose, your brain if you're just trying to come up with ideas, right? Like, you could even be like, oh, like I'm gonna cook like a 4-course dinner or whatever, for my friends. Like, oh, what should I make? You could have this AI bot like recommend you some things, and like it's not like you're gonna follow that recipe word for word, because they might be substituting sugar for salt and you might not even know it. But it can shake some cobwebs loose and get it going, and maybe remind you of some other things.
Yeah, point you in a good direction. If
yes.
You will, so. All right, we're gonna shift gears. We end the show with several Star Wars points, Mike. So let's jump into. I'm gonna build my lightsaber in my head right now. That's what I'm doing at Disney. 2 weeks.
All right.
Less than 2 weeks. We're going to Ahsoka, and this new rumor is that General Thrawn and Ezra Bridger were sent to a galaxy different than the one that we're in Star Wars, called the New Beyond. And in that galaxy, they use Force differently than we've ever seen before in the movies and shows, which it's mostly come down to like Force pushes and pulls and lightnings. But quote-unquote magic users in Star Wars likely came from this universe, because they're using the Force in different manners, and how they interact with it and see it. Because they weren't dictated by like Jedi and Sith, right? In terms of like the Force stuff. The other part of this rumor is that the skeleton crew is also set in because they're kids lost in space, is also set in this new Beyond universe, and this is how they're going to be tying together some of these stories in different points the whole way.
Yeah, I feel like the best way to make sure that you are right either way it pans out is just to say, like, doesn't this whole idea of kind of going outside of the Star Wars galaxy for the first time kind of seems like it could be the best idea or the worst idea, right? I could see it going either way, so polarizing, right? Let's say it doesn't work. Easiest thing to say is, well, why on earth did they think leaving the galaxy? Like, Star Wars was never necessarily about its location in time or space. It was about the characters, the story, the drama, all of the artifice that they built, with lightsabers. That was just set dressing. It was just about telling good dramatic stories. But if it goes great, you could say this is exactly what Star Wars needed. They needed a new, fresh take, a new perspective, some new ideas and elements to reinvigorate the franchise. Like, I could see it going so polar.
Here's the beauty of these is, one, the end of Rebels sent Thrawn and Ezra to a different galaxy, right? They sent them through hyperspace, not knowing where they were going, and that's why they haven't found them for years. So them coming back, finding their way back, is a way to say, hey, we were out here, this is how things work, to introduce an idea. If that doesn't work, Skeleton Crew could probably make a couple changes real fast and say, we're not in that universe, right? Like, they have a quick out if it's not being receptive well, but if it is, they can, like you said, they could lean into it even more. So I think by using these two, mentioning it offhand in Ahsoka, test your waters, put your feet in. Skeleton Crew, probably leave a couple blanks, maybe film some alternate, scenes, just in case, and they can change it real fast. I think that's the beauty of this stuff. So we are in a good point for Star Wars, knock on wood, Mike. Let's hopefully see if they continue through with this. With that, another thing behind the scenes photo here of actress Daphne Keane, who played X-23 in the Logan movie, the clone. She was a young girl back then, right? Obviously, time people grow up. We get to see her in this new Acolyte TV show in what appears to be, she looks like a Sith, if I'm going to say anything, right? Like, she's got like kind of red eyes, contacts, maybe some bones or horns growing through her hair as well.
Yeah, it's hard to tell if those are bones or different kind of colored dreads, but yeah, you nailed it right on the head. You look at this character and its design and you go, evil.
Yeah. So I think it's really, really cool looking. I she doesn't look like again, like the little girl in Logan at all, with all the makeup and stuff too. But like, I was just saying, she's got some like bows, like arrows. She got a blaster, and then arrows on her thing. So I'm interested to see kind of what weaponry they're using back then in the High Republic era, or like, where the dark side users, maybe she doesn't have a lightsaber yet. She's got to use these older fashioned stuff. But I like the look. This is I've never seen a character design like this in Star Wars, so it's cool to see them going down that road with a little differentness on that. Next up, The Bad Batch. If you've not watched the first season, it is very, very good. It was animated. I believe it came out earlier this year. 16 episodes. The second season has been confirmed with the release date has been confirmed with a new trailer for January 4th, 2023. It will have a 2-part debut on January 4th, a 2-part middle, and the season end will also be 2-part release as well through April. So this will be airing alongside Mandalorian season 3 on Disney Plus. I didn't think they'd sync them up, but they're doing them both through the whole thing, Mike, as well.
Yeah, they must be having either enough content on Disney Plus where now they have to start doubling up, or maybe they want to kind of see if they can synergize a little bit with those two titles. Yeah,
I could see possibly some of this. This takes place right after Order 66. Like that order goes on during the first season, kicks off very quickly. Some of the stuff may be tied into characters that are introduced in Mandalorian season 3, right? Dave Filoni, this is his, the Clone Wars is his baby, right? This is his story. Like, he knows these characters inside and out. I could totally see him planning some stuff in this animated stuff to come to live action later down the road. People who are fighting the Empire, Mandalorian comes across them. I don't know. So, biggest thing here is, obviously the clones are starting to get some more unique armor colors through this. We get I knew it right away. It was like, that's Wanda Sykes as one of the voices of the characters in the trailer. So, it to me looks, like more Bad Batch. I'm interested to see, the return of some of the good clones, if you will, like Rex. He was in there. So if you've not watched the first season, I recommend checking it out. This is coming out January 4th on Disney Plus. So start the new year with some Star Wars content. And lastly, Mike, did you watch this awesome gameplay reveal trailer for Jedi Survivor, the sequel to Fallen Order?
Yeah, I watched it the other day. I feel like the biggest takeaways I have from when I watched it, for being somebody that never beat the first game and only played like a very little bit of it, is there seemed to be some like interesting like new droids I saw in this trailer that I have not come across within Star Wars. So that'll be kind of fun to see where that goes. And then also the last I checked in with this I guess sequel was the mysterious person in the floating tank. Yep. So now they're out of the tank. I don't know what that means. Do we have any new information now that they're untanked?
We do not know. They know they've been there. They've been in the stasis for a long time. A lot of people think that this person's been there for hundreds of years from the New Order, or like from the High Republic era, right? Like they've been in there for a very long time. It kind of gives me vibes that they might be the villain of the story, right? He's like, I don't want to be trapped again. So he might be a dark side user, right? That they put in there. To me, couple of things here. Cal Kestis, he's grown up a little bit. They give him a more adult look than the previous game. Some new Force abilities. You get to see him pick up a stormtrooper and hold the blaster and shield, and he shoots the other ones. You did mention the battle droids are back, from Clone Wars, and then a couple bounty hunter scenes. You get to see him actually do some new stances with the lightsaber, where he pulls out a second lightsaber. So that's really fun to see the second lightsaber. And lastly, it looks like there is a secondary character who like you can like do combos with, kind of like in God of War or like The Last of Us, right? Like that second player is like a computer control, but you can do like finishing moves with them. So like there's a guy who like backflips over you and like finishes off somebody there. So I think it looks really, really good, if I'm going to be honest.
Now remind me again, is this game in the, as I'm going to start calling it, the Ando or the Mando timeline?
It's Andor. This is set in between 3 and 4.
Okay, gotcha.
And I don't know how many years after. I don't know how long after the first one this is set place. Because this could be running in parallel with the Obi-Wan show. It was what we presumed before. So I don't know where he is or where it's taking place. But she did say that he's becoming number 1. I guess enemy on the Empire's list. So very excited. It looks like the gameplay's improved. What I was afraid of was like these games make you forget everything you know from the last game, and then you have to relearn it all. But skills, it looks like they're not doing that on this one. Like you're gonna have everything from the last game, and you get to add on to it. One of the cool scenes and I always go back and watch it. I believe it's like later in the trailer. He's like running down a path with both lightsabers spinning around wildly as he's like deflecting blaster shots from droids or like a stormtrooper. And I'm like, oh, he's got some real cool moves this time. And you know me, I'm not a I Dark Souls. I've tried it. You know, it's fine. Elden Ring, I didn't play, which won Game of the Year. Congratulations, Elden Ring, at the Game Awards. But this plays Dark Souls like, right? And I really really enjoy this. Maybe it's the atmosphere, the story, right? I maybe have the affinity for Star Wars, but it's looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. So that trailer is in our show notes. The other thing I was going to say right before this, the video game awards, we didn't get any Spider-Man 2 or Wolverine trailer, Mike. That's really the reason I guess I was disappointed, right? That we didn't get that. We got, again, Star Wars. We got, I was like, oh, we didn't get any comic book stuff. I'm like, yeah, we did. We got the Suicide Squad and Hellboy. But I was like, man, I'm really disappointed Sony didn't, like, come swinging, literally and figuratively, with Spider-Man 2 trailer. Because I think that would have really, really hit the airwaves pretty good. Or at least some Wolverine gameplay.
Yeah, it makes you wonder. I mean, obviously, the development timeline for these games are so long comparative to the movies. But who knows? Maybe, 6-7 more months? Maybe San Diego Comic-Con. Mm-hmm. They'll have an opportunity to show something there. Who knows? Yeah,
I was going to see. I think they someone was even like tweeted at them or reached out to them, and they were like, "Yeah, we're still releasing it 2023." So maybe they're looking to reduce the time between reveal and release, right? That way, like, hey, we're gonna release it and then hype for like 2 weeks or not 2 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, and then release it, kind of deal. My fear is it's gonna be holiday 2023, right? Like, we need to sell PlayStations at Christmas. Let's push it out at the end of the year. So, yeah. Well, anyways, that's our episode. Last one. Again, reminder, we will be out for the next 2 weeks for the holidays. So hopefully everyone else has a safe, happy holidays with your family and loved ones. If you do anything cool, get anything cool over that, let us know. Reach out to us, right? We want to see all the cool stuff you get for Christmas. But in the meantime, if people know what you're up to, Mike, where can they find you at?
Well, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. You can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Because people want to catch up with you, where can they find you?
You can find me every week, except the next 2 weeks here on Superhero Slate, and also on Instagram at Valdan87, VALDAN. If people want to know more about the show, where they can get ready to come back to listen to our Avatar Way of Water review, that's what everyone's clamoring for, and more, where can they get all those good episodes at?
Yes, well, after you finish wrapping up your Christmas, your Hanukkah, your Kwanzaa, your Boxing Day, I feel like there's might be one other.
Whatever you celebrate.
Exactly.
It's Festivus. You're forgetting Festivus, the most important holiday of all.
Yes, exactly. After you finish all of that, head on over to superheroslate.com and check underneath our tree, also known as our show notes, where you can see all the things that we talked about here on today's episode. Stay subscribed, stay tuned. Like Chris said, we're going to be talking about Avatar here in the new year. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you'd love to listen to fine podcasts. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. Please reach out. Let us know how your holiday went, how your year went, right? It's the end of the year, brand new year. What are your resolutions? What was your favorite movie or TV show of the year? We all know mine was Severance, and with a special consideration and honor for Holly and the hot chocolate. Get one more in before the end of the year, Chris.
God damn it.
So we love our super fans. So if you want to be a super fan, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we'll be here every year, folks.
That's right. We'll catch you guys next year.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.